Right, well, man your battle stations, TSM. Border Patrol is going to need to be on lockdown for the top 5. Let's head over to Sims and Demon.
Thank you very much, guys. Yes, here we go. Hopefully no monsters showing in this game other than perhaps the energy drink form, but we are live in Miramar. And of course, it is going to be a fairly decent plane for most teams involved. It's going to cut across the middle, diagonal. I don't think too many teams, maybe M19, are going to struggle to Valle del Mar. They may adjust and go up to Alcantara, which I believe they've done a couple of times. We may also see raise your edge. I was about to say, they're not going to get to Tierra Bronca. They're going to go down to Porto Paris, so another adjustment. Most of these teams, they've already got their first and second sort of backup locations already figured out.
Yeah, it's always important to have a backup location no matter which map we're playing on, just because you have to be aware of these very wild and wonderful playing paths that can happen. As you did mention, anyone up in the northeast or southwest who always goes to the very outer rim, the extremities, will be having a little bit of a more difficult time, mainly because by the time they get their boots on the ground, the circle have already landed, and they will be behind all the rest of the people and all the rest of the teams that will be looting happily. CrowCrowd already down, Los Leones, as usual place, Raise Your Edge, Paraiso. Further afield, Impala, Scoom, and Co from Rec will be there. ENCE sometimes get this little weird and wonderful split drop that they do around this area, just touching the edge of Los Leones up through the Badlands, I want to say. And as I am talking about that specific area, the circle does fix 8 on there. So the more difficult rotations we may see, Navi, M19, Winstrike, and FaZe, you'd have to guess that some of these teams may go for that western embankment all the way down south, and then skim in just from the western side. Commissary just below the road. The bigger question is, though, do these teams read that? Do some of them go early? Do they set up an encampment and try and trap them? Or do someone like Navi maybe swing it all the way around up the north and come in potentially past G2 and TSM?
Well, the centering point's a little tricky because obviously it is literally just the tip of sort of Los Leones, just outside of it, that overlooking the hillside that just overlooks the whole of Los Leones. So we may see even a team maybe going for there, but there's not a great deal of cover from the other side of the road. Could be a lot of changes. Interesting talking about ENCE. I remember the conversation with Tempo when they were baiting Squeaky. So like, you know what that compound's called? You drop into. Yeah, Ghost drop there as well. That's called My House. Tempo baiting him because they're dropping a similar location to Ghost Gaming. But both those teams have qualified for the Grand Slam, the GLL Grand Slam. Obviously, top 5, you know, there's something that they were talking about on the desk. You know, at the moment, the top 4 is very much solidified. TSM in a little bit of danger, I would say. Raise Your Edge really stepping up their game yesterday. They are down in Porto Paraiso again in this matchup, which gives them a really nice run. Honestly, obviously, nothing on their backs. They've got an easy run, whereas normally you think of their drop, Cruz del Val, they're sort of coming in out the blue, always coming in a little bit late. They've definitely stepped up and improved over the last couple of weeks. It's a team that's certainly progressed very well. Whereas TSM, you know, they've had their problems. They're open to discussing those problems. And yeah, it wasn't a great week last week, but they certainly improved. They looked good yesterday. Look to step things up. As we see Team Liquid on the move. 3 minutes 30. No, not too surprising. The plane kind of went straight over Picardo, right?
They're also always the early birds, regardless.
Yeah.
You usually see Gempty sitting back, potentially Jeems as well, which will be the exact same scenario in this one. Ibi, kill rank 10th on the left-hand side, you can see there. FaZe stats 66 so far in kills.
I think Jeems ahead of him as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still say it. Ooh, hello.
Okay, this has happened before. This was same compound last week, and it was set the same position. Last time we saw Ibi coming in, the solo man, and then he waited. And Set got caught out last week because he tried to take the fight on. The whole of Team Liquid came in. So identical from last week. This time Set's like, no, I've seen this before. I died. I'm getting the hell out of there.
Maybe had a quick scout to see what was going on. You could see which way it was driving. Try and stay behind the buildings and keep the buildings between him and Ibiza, stopping getting knocked out the back of the vehicle. Okay, you're in a vehicle, but you're still never safe, especially if one of these bullets just comes flying through the back window. Here's the pull-up from Vitality. That's how you should be doing it. Get the cars out early, post them back. Take a peek, see what's going on. Okay, coast is clear. Bring in the cavalry boys. Let's hide these vehicles and make sure the tyres are absolutely safe from harm's way.
I would like to see Unity together a little quicker. Bearing in mind that their sort of drop is kind of like dead center to this. It's always that classic problem of if that's your loot path and the circle centers up on you, you need to group up quick because they'll so often get caught out.
The thing is that where they're dropping is a problem in the fact that they have to cover all bases. This will be
it's such a spread.
A massive 360-degree fight, essentially, because every single team from every single angle will be honing in on them. There isn't much in terms of a very strong compound to hold down there. If I'm not mistaken, it is a bit of a wasteland area that they do loot through. We saw yesterday some of their gear on this map certainly was level 1 helmets, level 1 vests. I'm looking on the map now. The one thing that I do see encroaching on their position will be the Knights. They've continued to move forward. They'll be going just over the edge of Picado. The last remnants of that team reels in the back lines, watching for any late goers, which will be NIP and TSM. Snark and Wanted. You expect a scope to be on the back of that Car 98, so be able to get some level of views. I was actually wrong as well. And again, this comes down to Unity being split. So the other side of Unity is actually in a decent hole. They've got the compound with the windows up top. They can have a look through there.
They've got the Knights nearby, though, which is what we're seeing here. Snark deciding to scout it and back away. Wanted giving the information away. That's great. Kind of in no man's land. G2 might bump in down towards it. There's a Grozer in there, obviously. NIP trying to flip the car back over, but it's not working, it seems.
Throw nade at it. You've probably got 16,000 in your pocket anyway. Just nade it over. It's fine, boys.
They always are. I'd love to know NIP's inventory because they always have about 8 grenades in their backpack, don't they?
I'd be surprised if any of them carried less than
5.
5
Yeah,
5
less
to
than
6
5.
at a time. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at any given moment. NIP on a good day had less than 20 grenades between them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary, really, to be honest. And needs looking at, but that's a different story. Hopefully for Phase 3 we see something happen.
I actually, it's a relative point, although it's a player that we can't talk about because he is carrying that Twitch ban right now. But the man that plays for FaZe made a very good point about it this morning on his Twitter, and he's talking about it. It's like people need to stop complaining about the grenades and start to, figure out play methods instead of just saying, oh, of course I got knocked, it was a grenade. It's like, well, okay, it's in the game, it's been in the game for a long time, adapt, overturn. And we are starting to see it. We're starting to see those close engagements. People will fight and then they'll quickly disengage. They'll draw out the grenades effectively. It's becoming a full little micro meta in itself.
There's positives and there's negatives to it. I've spoken my piece about it, how I think the damage is fine. Some people will complain about damage. I believe that a grenade should be lethal. If it lands at your feet, it should knock you or should kill you.
Of course it's a bloody grenade, right?
Yeah, it is, and that's what it should do. I don't think there's anything wrong with the splash damage, the range. It's just how many people can carry it at the moment. And again, with the utility, there are 1,000,001 ways that PUBG can have a look at this and how they can not necessarily fix it, but certainly adapt and change things up. And I'm looking forward to seeing if that does come into play. But again, who knows?
I think the major issue is when you start limiting what people can carry. That in itself is kind of counterintuitive to the whole Battlegrounds feel, right? You get what you find.
Just increase the weight of them.
that sort of way. Yeah,
well,
I guess,
just increase the weight, double it, triple it, job done. Easy fix.
Fills the bag up too much.
Easy fix.
But anyway, that aside, rotations-wise, we can see that FaZe are quite a long way out here, actually. They've gone to a far spread. They're far on the western side. Winstrike and Navi. Navi have actually sat around the edge of Picado up in the hills, so they are miles out. Obviously, it is a massive circle, and it can swing in any direction, which could work. Certainly from FaZe, Winstrike, Navi's position on the far west, they have a good position where they can go deep south and swing in if they need to, around the back of Los Leones. We don't really know where this circle's going to go. Just wonder what Elite Player's doing up in that blue at the moment. I think he's flipped his bike, because Wanderer is driving back up there. No, and I guess Elite Player's just found a car, because he's just gave the signal, so he's off back to it. There's the crate. Chris has found it. There's a Grozer and some level 3 and a Wookiee outfit. Not literally a Wookiee Bookie outfit.
A Wookiee outfit.
Just puts a big Dane on.
Just wearing Wookiee.
Ooh.
All right, so a bit of a hard shift, goes more towards the north. Cheetah's off towards the east. No water in place, that'll be happy. G2, M19, all in good spots to try and find somewhere early. TSM could disengage from their current position and fall back to Minas Generales. That will give you a good overlook, an overview on the main roads where people are going to be flooding from.
So somewhat semi-expected, right? Obviously, we know that it tends to pull away from cities, which is probably the gamble that we saw FaZe, Navi, Team Liquid almost taking, because it was either going to go in this sort of radius around the northern aspect from east to west, right? Somewhere in the north, because it couldn't... Well, if it went south, which we saw yesterday, it would go to probably the same spot we saw last night.
I think at this stage, it's probably, it could go... Oh, dear. Okay, I'll hold on for a second because Chris is dead.
That's Chris with his whole level 3 gear that he just found.
So that was the scout.
Oh, here comes TSM as well.
Three-way. So Chris was the initial engagement there to at least rattle some noise. And
Uber got caught out on the extract, so Uber's going to get flushed out by Bestelosh there. But we just saw TSM and Vitality pull them next to each other. Doesn't look like too much. As I say that, the nade comes in, and that's going to be TSM putting a lot of damage down on Vitality, a team that had a horrid day yesterday. Doesn't look to be getting much better.
Looking for some kind of... Step back inside, Michael. There's a nade at the stairs. Smoke continued to flood forward, which will just completely throw Vitality off.
Where's that coming from on the hill? G2.
Looks like it's a third party in the distance. G2 again. You saw Chris moving up, and that was the lead scout to try and find a position in this one. Still, plenty of grenades in the back here for TSM, and they are just bombarding Vitality. Kramer does have one in hand that he might be able to throw back. Nope, straight away. Back to back, just like that. He is knocked down, so the bleed out this time will be quick here. I just feel like at the moment TSM are just trying to find more bodies before they do engage in this one.
Yeah, it's just the standard nade exchange, back and forward they go. Shadow just took a chunk from that one. That looked like it was a good one onto Michael. Michael, we can see instantly with the X-ray, making a run for it, but his own nade does find Shadow. So Vitality down 2 at the moment. See if they can get a revive in there as Wookie looks to try and hold the angles. Quick overwatch of what's going on. Team Liquid, they've gone up around the north. They're coming in the south graveyard side towards Minas Generalis. Navi just kind of went straight across Picardo. FaZe and DA gone deep south. They're actually both very close to each other and clashing in Los Leones right now. You see them in the picture-in-picture there as they pass by, and Mexi gets caught, so that's FaZe losing 2.
Natus with a hip fire. Does at least catch one in the back lines. He does go through, but they now know where he is. Wookie down to literally 1 HP. Has to be extremely careful. Remember, all this is going down. G2 is still up on the hillside. Throwing a few pop shots down here and there. Nasus, I didn't realize he was the only one left. This is all kinds of brutal. I mean, we were talking about grenades for just a second. He gets another one, and all of a sudden, there is a response there. The smokes will have to continue forward. Wookie,
yeah,
it's his first knock, so they'll be able to easily get him up. Gustav also the same.
They're lucky enough that G2 didn't push that as well, because, you know, G2 could be looking at that feed and seeing the knocks and thinking, right, let's push down and get some kills. They're just up in the hill above, watching it go. Winstrike on a deep south rotate. They're coming up the far eastern road past Porto Periuso and Impala. Razor Edge had done similar. They've got themselves up to a decent northern spot north of Impala, along with Reciprocity, M19 in there, and AP. Everybody's pretty safe now inside their compounds, just M19 grouping up.
So that fight that we just saw is kind of a prime example of what we were speaking about with the grenade-style meta. If there would have been a much heavier weight to them, there would have been a lot less. You may have seen smokes and flashes used more. You may have seen a couple of mollies here and there. You know, the smokes, you can actually smoke up your enemy rather than smoking up yourself, make an advanced push together. But something like that
brings more options into the game, right?
It does, but people are wanting to see more gunfights, and we only saw the gunfight once the initial bombardment was cleared out of the way.
Once everyone had ran out, basically.
Look, there's nothing wrong with it. It's in the game. It's all part of it, and you have to work with it. You know, again, we saw it on Twitter. There's positives, there's negatives. There's a huge conversation factor to it. But certainly from that one, it was only until the end factor we actually saw the final gunfight come down. It gets a little bit messy, but still, whatever works and whatever does work. Unfortunately for Vitality, they are on the end of the hat stick there, and they're down and dusted in game number 1.
And there's some sweet irony in that, because obviously Minas Generalis is now central to the circle, and that is where Vitality drops. So again, another team that's gone down in their backyard, effectively. TSM make their move. They've got that compound secured. They can take in a couple of shots over the Knights. You can see them confirming and securing their location. They're pretty safe at the moment. As I say that, Mikaz, just the solo man in there with Trifoli, gets one down, but he's been down himself. Trifoli's getting naded out. That looked like it was on point. He will catch a big slice of damage, but doesn't finish him off. Rustamar coming in along with Squeaky.
A little bit more of a hold on that grenade. It could have been an insta. He did get a chance to move. And again, if you do pull the pin, if you lob them in, it is going to take a while for it to go down. This is where you know the cue that it's on there, and you will still get an audible cue when you pull the pin, so you know it's going to be cooked. Sometimes for that you can actually bait the grenades and run at them, which we have seen before in past, and the same goes for the meds. Fella's looking like he's in a bit of a sticky situation at the moment. There are grenades coming from 2 different angles. Mikas, I would assume he'll be left to bleed out unless we can get some sort of breach and clear here from 2 players on ENCE. They're just holding down one side of this compound. If they can get themselves involved in this, Squeaky finally finds Reels. I think that's a second time round. Wanted at least answers back to Rustamar. So stops the advancement. Oof. But this is messy on both sides.
This is 2 on 2. Wanted's going to push around. He gets himself the double flush. And now Mikas, Trifoli aborted the revive. He was going for the revive on Mikas, backed out of it, and Snark does the business for the Knights there, and he's going to get his team back on their feet. FaZe and Winstrike clashing. Fuzz down to nothing, has to hit the dirt. 80 will manage to get himself the flush onto Timmy. Shiv, I think, stole away the kill on Nuki there. So it looks like Winstrike also down to 1 as well. It's Jorski, the solo man, out in the blue.
I think for FaZe here, they'll just have to collect the body boxes and take whatever they can. Meds, grenades, utility. Get some gear back and get in this one. Remember, they lost Uber on rotation earlier on. He is their scout.
They lost Mexi as well on the rotation.
Yeah, Uber been the scout. He was looking towards Picado. Unfortunately, they didn't expect Navi to be chilling down there. Again, you lose one player. It's better than losing the entirety of the team, or even the integrity of the team. You know, losing your IGL now could be a bit of a swing, which I believe FaZe is one of the IGL and shot callers in this one, with Mexi being the team captain as the backup.
Tizzerin's going straight into FaZe Clan. That's not good. That's another kill. I mean, this is feeding points at the moment to FaZe. They're loving it, even though they're down to 2.
There's not.
That's
can't
a
go
yoink.
really too much far. They're going to have to get in the vehicles and go now because they are being held back at gunpoint, especially.
I wonder if anyone's going to collect. Sorry, I cut you off.
Cool.
I was seeing Fast Rail, and we've obviously just seen ENCE fighting the Knights in that compound. That is now the center point. I was wondering whether this Raise Your Edge push was going to go directly into it. We saw them yesterday taking that yeehaw and moving over on Digital Athletics, but unfortunately the hay bales have not been too safe, and Chris is just hoping that he can stay alive. That headshot catching him from Rory, though.
Yeah, he unfortunately just dipped outside behind the hay bales, and it was a bit of a problem. It looks like we've got to pull up here from FaZe, and it's Scoom who will put the nail in the coffin, but he didn't get 2 points. One of them was collected by CC in the back line.
Sigsy and Minox, they're going to the same spot. They're going to try and get Chris revived here. If they can come in with vehicles and maybe block it off a little better than they had before. Remember, they came in on a bike. It is a hay bale shack. G2 themselves in one of those shacks. It's not a great position. And look at this. There's Kemba. So there's CrowCrowd, Reciprocity, TSM, and the Knights shooting on Raise Your Edge here.
Yeah.
It's a 4-way. There's no way they're surviving. Yeah, there's no way. That was if you had the map up and you guys at home can watch it on the stream, have that map up, there was just tracer fire from every direction onto that little shack.
I think the main question from that is that the smokes were already down from Chris's initial engagement with his teammate there, Fast Rail, so maybe they thought, okay, we can use the cover of the smokes, get a player back, maybe put the vehicles up, explode them, take the tires out, and then use them for cover, because it was not too far off center of the map, and then worked it out from there. But with how many players were on them and how many different angles, unfortunately they were just completely open, way too much. So that will be the grave for them. It looks like the rest of Unity has been caught, decides to give it up himself. Fair play. Don't want to give away any more points. If that was certainly, unless he accidentally went for a smoke and the wrong thing, it could be
it's just
different question altogether.
Yeah, which is a little weird because Blaston's still alive, so strangely he went for it. But there's a potential for Team Liquid. We're seeing them here. M19 are on foot, coming from above. So Liquid won't be hearing it. Obviously, NIP are in the same compound outside Menace Generals. The circle may well pull away from here. But there is a potential that Team Liquid might get caught out from behind here by M19.
The problem is for M19, they have a very small entry point into this circle, and the fact that Jempty's back there in one of the oil towers, if you want to call it, it's like one of the oil drills, you might get an overlook on them coming in. Thankfully, Team Liquid are split, which may just be the getaway that M19 need, but there's also NIP involved in there, and if they're up in those buildings, just on the elevated, they're kind of like the, I don't know what to call them, the more like hangars and warehouses. You can stand up and look through the windows, which you've seen now.
Got an idea. He must have seen them. Look, judging by his position, looking up there, he must have seen something coming. But I'm not seeing the rest of Team Liquid looking this way, so maybe not. Jempty, I'm not sure. I mean, M19 are in the circle now. They're safe inside the circle. We'll see where it's going to push to. G2 themselves have just got Kane outside the circle. He's the only one now that's not inside the white. The rest of his team are pretty much centered up in a ditch.
M19 will need smokes here unless they get super lucky.
Oof.
That's a big oof. That's a yonk away from them. NIP, Liquid, M19. They've got both sets of NIP. Neither of them are inside the circle. They were hoping some sort of hard shift doesn't go their way. La Bandita's also going to get messy.
That compound fight between ENCE and the Knights has suddenly, it's looking like a minimum of 10 points fight that they came out on top of. And more importantly, they got all 4 people back on their feet. Team Liquid, there we go. This is what we're talking about. They might get surprised from behind by M19, and they absolutely have. Ibby would have taken down, and they just think, where did that come from? Jempty's now gone up into the position where M19 just came from, so he may get around the back and wrap around behind them.
Just be aware that Gaxi does have an AWM, and he has made it count. Rory's gone down from TSM. They are just teetering on the edge of the circle. Kaint has flown by. You know what? NIP, just so you're aware on map, he's pushing. They're actually pushing this one. There was an initial knock and they're going for it. This is on another side of the map, so make sure you keep an eye on that kill feed.
Nice pre-nade. That's Michael, so we're watching it on the map feed. That was a pre-nade, because that was an instant. As soon as the car pulled up, Vard's going to come around. He's the last man standing. We've kind of missed most of the action already happened because they've kind of all bled out. Miraku and Vard do get into the compound, though, just the other side. So it's a 2-on-3 right now between these. Meanwhile, Team Liquid, they're getting mopped up and cleaned out by M19. We could see it coming. They were just sneaking in behind, and Team Liquid completely caught napping in that fight. But now it's NIP. Oh, Vard on nothing.
You would have to suggest that, unfortunately, Gemty did not catch a glimpse of them once, which is rather unlucky, because they had to come down from the hills and they had to run open ground.
Remember TSM, they might not have a great deal of grenades here because they had that massive exchange with Vitality. They had not had anything given to them since, so chances are it's got to be a gunfight.
We'll have a couple of body boxes, and NIP should have some good utility on them, should they be able to collect it, but it's getting the job done first, so the stims will come off. They are furthest in the circle, so should they try and force this one, TSM will have to make the first move. But strength in numbers, if we say time and time again, they could flood this. They just got to make sure if TSM do push this, they do it right.
M19 are making a charge. They're trying to get around. They're going for the hillside straight in under Navi's noses. The Knights also had an angle on them as they tried to make for the cross. Here we go. The push goes down. Vard gets knocked. Miraku, the last man standing. He'll go down. Nice
good
stuff
push
from Rory there.
Really good push. It was all worked together, and that's what you want, something that gives a bit of confidence and cadence to the job. Listen to your IGL and get the job done. Say, okay, well, commit to this one. We need to go, we need to go. Now, M19 also, I am very surprised they've been allowed to get up this hillside. Just be aware, guys, we're watching this on the map. While this fight's going down between M19 and Na'Vi, the Knights have sent 2 players away from the compound to get involved and maybe collect some free points.
And CrowCrowd have got just on the edge of the crater of Le Bandita, and they're pulling the shots down onto Navi's backside. That's what's allowed M19 to come up, because suddenly Na'Vi are realizing they're exposed, and this has gone badly wrong. The Knights, they tried to push out. That was a little too aggressive, and TSM made them pay the price there. Put a couple of shots in their backside. Aduzi, Dimash, the last man standing for M19. The circle pulls away from the compounds. Look at G2 sitting in that ditch. They've been in there for about 3 circles now. They're loving it. The fact that it's gone their way. The Knights just about got the edge wall of their compound in, so they're still happy, along with CrowCrowd.
With G2 losing Chris so earlier on, such a monumental fragger in the very early stage of the game, I can understand teams we do find go a little bit less aggressive and a bit more passive when they're down in numbers. So being able to go there and at least get a top 9 position, maybe even further, might make it into top 5, they have to be aware that a team will definitely crash into that zone with the vehicles, especially someone like the Knights or TSM, if they have vehicles. Rec, still, they've been quite quiet so far. They finally have to do something. Yeah,
well, they've gone to a hay bale shack. I'm not sure if that's the right move. They're trying to scout it because they see TSM on the move. So Reciprocity trying to catch TSM off guard. They're both on the move, but look at this CrowCrowd getting the third party in there. That is beautiful from behind. Reciprocity totally exposed, giving themselves the cover to TSM and completely opening themselves up to CrowCrowd. By the way, CrowCrowd, brilliant position for them here. The only team not to have a win in Phase 2. This could be their moment. They have 4 alive.
But as usual, they're in a 2-1-1 split. This, for them, actually could be good and could work out because they're owning so much land right now. Provided they have a good overlook on what's going on and they can see all the angles and all the sight lines they need to provide themselves cover one another. M19, they did get a lot further than what I expected them to in this one, for the simple fact of the run they had to make. Set, we saw him do some beautiful things with a sniper rifle in phase number 1. This time, K98, can he do any more? Rec have got to make a big push here in open water. TSM also have to do the same. I'd probably expect to lose both of these teams on this engagement for the simple fact they have to run open ground. It's complete. There's nothing there bar a couple of tractors, a couple of barrels of hay, and that's it.
Yeah, G2 in the shack as well, dead ahead of them, and there we go. So we're seeing Scoom drop, Shiv drop, Scoom will bleed out. Shiv's going to finish, and the last man standing, Rafi, he's going to get knocked down as well. And Reciprocity,
G2
unfortunately, can't do a lot. Yeah, Haxity, last man standing for them. And, Tamp's just going to see himself an easy shot in the backside of Vaduzi. He's going to fall down. So Reciprocity will fall in 7th. That's going to collect them, again, yet more points. They passed Vitality by 1 point yesterday. They're still continuing to climb that table. Na'Vi will go down in 6th, as Wanted and Reels made that push up onto the crater of La Bandita. It gives them that nice Overwatch position that they need against CrowCrowd here.
That's the second time they've disengaged from their full team to go on a little 2-man squad and pick up points. I think they're on about 11, 12 kills now. The Knights are absolutely shredding in this game, and good job. They're playing it well, they're keeping cautious, not going too far, not running off. They're staying in a 2-pack of 2-2. Wookie, unfortunately, might be caught off guard from several different angles. He's looking which way to go. Yeah, 5th position for that. Kemba does seal the deal with the SLR. So G2 still front and center. 2 players in a bunker, but again, 1 grenade will pretty much seal their fate, unfortunately. They do have a little shack, but how much cover that's going to give you, really, I do not know. Beautiful Death might give himself up to the blue because he knows that Tab's just watching on the edge of the crater. The CrowCrowd are in a good position here. They have the most map dominance than any team, I want to say, currently left in the game. They just need to make sure they stick together as a team and play as a team here to continue this one through.
And I think this battle on the edge of La Bandita Crater is like the key, right? Because you're looking at Wanted and Reels. They're going to get inside. They've got Tab and Set up on the other side of the crater. If one of them can get a knockdown there, it's going to force the crater push. And if they can get control, either team, of that top crater position, the two players down low are in trouble. G2 just the dead center of the circle.
It's basically a bunker because there's all the gaps inside the windows, and because the door is on the side where nobody is, their backs are pretty much clear. The only way to really get to that shack is to smoke it up first. So if Snark or Drayden can get close enough, throw some smokes up there, cover the portholes on this shack, or maybe even just post a grenade through the window or through the doorway, they're going to be laughing. There is a way to approach this one. You can see with the topography of the map, you are denied a line of sight should you go down low, but then you run the risk of being seen by CrowCrowd because they are on elevated ground.
Yeah, just these 2 players for G2 stopping the entire fight between Knights and CrowCrowd. It's just delaying everything.
It's quite good because it's just dictating it, right?
Wanted just wants to land one of those car shots. But the thing is, even if he lands that shot, they're not going to push it. They're not going to push it. It's just going to continue to help bleed them out. But
I don't know, because it might give the go sign for maybe Snark and Drayden to make an advancement on it. Should they have the smokes? But again, it's CrowCrowd that's the problem for them and will hold them back, really making a run for it.
Well, Drayden needs to move. That wall is no longer the safe point. Yeah, here comes the wall. Here comes the smoke. So CrowCrowd are going to be looking down in this one. Set has made a really big move. Look at that. Set's right above Wanted and Reels now. He's been sneaking along. Tab's now joining him. Wanted and Reels realize it. They're going for the hillside. We don't want to know Kemba. We want to see what's going on that hillside between Reels and Wanted and Set. Kemba's just got the overlook position. Here we go. Set right above them. Has a perfect angle. Instantly gets spotted. I think it was Snark that took the shots down towards him, so instantly gives that silhouette away, and they realize the danger.
That's going to be a low ball grenade. That'll be cooked as well. If that
that looks good.
Oh, this looks amazing.
Oh, it catches Wanted, and then instantly Brexico. Oh my God, Brexico from the shack gets the knock, and he's going to bleed out there because he took a couple of shots, and then Wanted's in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, it's a panic run. I say panic when you're going to run away from the grenade, right?
Reels is going for the revive.
Snark took the advantage to actually try and get closer to this shack, just on that low ground. There is a possibility for a revive here. I mean, still, the denied line of sight from G. Oh, put a nade in, please. Oh, I don't have any.
He missed it. He missed it. He took
but again, that noise is going to hide his footsteps. In
he thinks there's only one. He thinks there's only one in there. I don't think he realized there was 2. He went for the headlong rush in. Udia's going to get back revived on there, and really, the solo run. Oh, yeah, that's just information, right? That's simply information that they believe there's just a single guy in there, which is probably why they were going so desperately to get that knock.
I mean, as well, unless someone else saw him from the back lines on the run, he should have just, well, they might have just been bailing for it, to be honest.
I reckon Reels fancies this. So they knew that Set was lit there. Reels has to heal himself up. Okay, they had a single nade. It would have been good if they'd have still been peeking it, but look at CrowCrowd disengaging. They realize they have the high ground. That's a good nade. Another one coming in, forces Tab backwards. They're running out of time. The center circle is down very much at G2, but Kemba's nade will decide it. Drayden, the last man standing for the Knights, as they try and get the revives, but they're not pushing it. Why are they not pushing it?
I think they fancy the low ground instead. They want to get closer to the center, which is, I mean, it's not the worst
scenario
in the world.
The blue's going to do the damage for them.
Yeah, because they'll still pick up the points, right? they'll still grab the points. This might be the first win, Lee.
This may well be the first time. They got 11 kills, 12 kills. Wanted bleeds out. Gonna get an angle onto Udyr down there. They have to deal with Drayden still. Brexco will be finished off. 13 kills. This is a big performance from CrowCrowd. The team that's not had a single victory. Drayden spotted. 14 kill win. And finally, every team in the PEL will pick themselves up a chicken dinner.
As he does do that, one of his teammates as well grabs another one, make that 15 points just in the very last second.